Alright folks, welcome back to another raid video. And before we start today's video, I just want to say a big thank you to this Saffron man. He had me on his podcast last night and it was great fun. Also a big shout out to Dirtbag Gaming, Fastidious and Annette J. So that was the three other content creators that I was on the podcast with. It was really good fun. Saffron's a cool guy, does a lot of stuff for the community and gets a lot of cool stuff organized. So I'm going to link all of their YouTube or Twitch channels below in the description. If you could all please check them out, give them a follow or subscribe. I'm sure they would really appreciate that. All cool people and really good creators. But anyways, let's get on with the video. So today I actually am going to do a little video on Ruel the Huntmaster, on how well he can actually do in Arena, because I got him on my free-to-play account as well, and he was one of, if not the easiest legendary I've ever kind of got through a fusion fragment collection. So I think a lot of people probably will have this guy because he wasn't really too difficult to get. So I've stuck him in some pretty decent gear and I'm just going to see how well he can perform in Arena. And I think on the whole he's a pretty decent champion. So let's go ahead with the skills first. So his A1 here attacks one enemy 50%, which is 65 when booked, with placing the big decreased defense. Transfers a random debuff from this champion to the target if the target's under Hex. So this kind of comes in its own in PvE, I've found, especially on my free-to-play account. He's like the only legendary I've got on there, so I've obviously put all my books into him, and he seems to be doing pretty well at placing debuffs back onto the bosses with Hex on them. His A2 is an AoE, attacks all enemies, places an extra hit on enemies under Hex debuffs, and will ignore 25% of each target's defense if there are 4 or more Hex debuffs on enemies. So if you're facing an arena team, you need to get Hex on everyone. If it's a 5-man wave in like dungeons or Doom Tower, then you just need to get 4 of the 5 to get the 25% of each target's defense. And just before we talk about that, we'll look at the A3 because this is where it all revolves around. So it's an increased accuracy buff on all allies, which on its own is really good nowadays. So for Arena, for Doom Tower especially, this is an amazing buff. Then places a Hex debuff on all enemies for 2 turns. I really like the fact that he puts increased accuracy on himself first, then he's able to do the Hexes. He also places a perfect veil on himself for 2 turns and then fills his turn meter by 50%. So you basically want to go around, put this debuff on them, and then boost around as quick as you can to smack people with this A2. And then his last ability is a passive. Decreases speed of enemies under Hex debuffs by 5% and decreases the res of those enemies by 10%. So the resistance goes down a little bit, which is kind of funny because you've already debuffed them, but that's fine. It means they can take more debuffs afterwards. Decreases speed of the enemies under Hex is always a bonus. 5% doesn't sound like much, but 5% of a 380 speed Siffy is actually quite a lot. Well, I have 300, that's 15 speed, that's quite a lot. So also increases the damage enemies take under Hex by 10% and decreases the value of heals by 30%. So that's a lot of stuff for enemies under Hex debuffs. And Hex is a funny one because the only champion before that was utilizing it was the Thea, the Tomb Angel, who I actually did a video on maybe a month or two ago. I'll link it in the description above just now. She wasn't very good. She was pretty useless. But I did kind of think, you know what, they're going to eventually release some more Hex champions, and then she might end up being quite good. So these effects do not stack if there are multiple Ruels on the same team, because that would be broken. That's really important to note, the fact that they said this though, because I'm just going to spoiler alert and say the best possible way I personally think to use Ruel is to use 2 of them. Would be the ultimate solution. If you had 2 of these guys, they would be insane because you could build one for accuracy, like really fast, high accuracy, like a sort of 300 plus speed. You probably only need like 400 or 500 accuracy because then with the 50% increase accuracy, that's going to be at like 750 accuracy, so that's going to be more than enough. The other beauty about this A2 I've found, especially on the free-to-play account, is the A3 I should say. On the free-to-play account, I'm using him as my main damage dealer, but he's got enough accuracy that he can land these, especially at sort of gold 1, 2, 3, where I'm playing at just now. Well, in fact, I'm on gold 4 now, but it's still doable. But yeah, it actually enables your other champions so much easier without having to worry about gear. So if you were kind of low spender or free to play and you did get Ruel, he's going to increase the accuracy of all your debuffers too. Then he can also deal damage. So he's kind of a jack of all trades. He's really good. But back to what I was saying before, if you had two of them, high accuracy, high speed, increase accuracy, put the hexes on them. Maybe you want to run like a Kaimar or Thalia, someone beforehand just to strip everyone to make sure you get those hexes on. Then speed tune it so it goes into Ruel, well, the second Ruel, with full Savage gear. He's going to be ignoring 25% of defense from this ability here. He's going to get a 10% increase in damage from here. He's going to get a double hitter as well because of all the hexes. So this guy can actually do more damage than Trunda. I think him and Thea technically can do the most damage in the game, pound for pound, but there's setup involved. That's the problem. I know there's things like Robar as well, he's got setup too, but the setup isn't too difficult with this. If you had two of them, I would just look at it as like the first Ruel's more like your Madame because he's having to put down the decreased defense. I don't think you need decreased defense if you get the hexes down with this. I would just run like a Thalia, Kaimar, something like that, into number 1 Ruel, into number 2 Ruel, and you will deal a ton of damage. A ton of damage. Then obviously Swift Parry could definitely proc. If you're playing with Kaimar, just reset and do it again. But the beauty is the first Ruel, if you build them with even just a little bit of damage, you know, doesn't need to be much, then he's still not even used his AoE, which even though it's not going to deal as much as the one in Savage, it might just clean up the champions afterwards, you never know. So, well, in fact it will, as long as their Swift Parry is fallen off by that point. But yeah, I would really like to pull a second one of him because I think it would be pretty cool to play with, and the damage potential is massive. So you could go against tanky teams and just blow them out of the water. I think it'd be really cool, and you don't have to worry about resistance either because you've got the increased accuracy here on the A3. Plus, you would be decreasing the resistance anyway by 10%, which is actually quite a big amount. If you're talking about a full, 700-800 resist champion, and yeah, you're also going to be getting the speed down as well. So loads of cool stuff in this kit. How have I built him though? So in my opinion, the best possible gear to put him in is Swift Parry because, well, this is specifically if you're using him on his own. So say you just want to use Ruel as your damage dealer, but you still want to land that hex because that's where he gets his damage from. So it's a tough one to gear, I'm not going to lie. It's the hardest way to build them. You need to build them with good speed, 100% crit rate, good crit damage, good attack, good accuracy. It's a lot. It's a hell of a lot of stuff. So that's why I've gone with the Swift Parry. Also Swift Parry being the fact that if you put down the hexes, you only increase your turn meter by 50%. The other team's got a chance to cut in on you. Then you've got a chance at least to survive on a 50-50 hit and then finish them off with your AoE. So he could potentially be a fairly cool defensive nuker. I run him in my defense team on my free-to-play because he's my only nuker, but I do seem to pick up a lot of wins, so I'm guessing that's why, because he's also running in Swift Parry on that account too. But here's the stats I'm running him at. So not tons of attack, 5.1k attack, a little bit of defense, not nearly enough health. I'd like to get his health up. I don't have many glyphs left for health, unfortunately, so I could maybe get this up to sort of 35k at some point. He's got quite low base health, which is why it's difficult. He's got huge base attack though, nearly 1.7k, so he's pretty easy to get up there. Decent crit damage, nearly 100% crit rate, and 312 accuracy. So the way I'm looking at that is he's actually about sort of 450 accuracy because of the increase. I haven't glyphed a lot of this gear properly yet, so if I decide to keep this build, I'll maybe get up to about 350 accuracy, which is, putting me near the 500, which is what I want to be at. 500 accuracy is kind of the benchmark for a team like this. So that's how I'm doing it. I've used Swift Parry gear. As you can see, not many glyphs on any of the stuff yet. Some glyphs on here. This is a decent chest piece for him actually because it's got the triple roll on accuracy. Crit damage gloves, speed boots, the usual kind of stuff, and obviously you want a decent accuracy banner on him. This is a pretty good one actually for this build. Again, no glyphs on the speed on any of this stuff yet, so I could easily get his speed up to a sort of 250-ish I think, which would make it a lot better. Just not going to be investing in the glyphs yet, as you all know, because I'm waiting for this stupid mission with is it the max glyph mission? Oh my god. Like I wasted all my glyphs on the last one, so I'm just saving my glyphs just now until I get to the next mission, because I believe the next one's like 30 or something. It's crazy, it's going to take forever. Then obviously crit damage amulet and attack on the ring as well. So that's that there. The masteries I decided to run them in are Helm Smasher on the offense tree. I'm running him with Stoke to Fury because he does put the debuffs on, then he's coming back round to take a turn, so a lot of the time he might end up getting debuffs on him before then, so that just gives you more damage. Opportunist, because I do run him with like Kymar and stuff. He's actually a really cool champion to run alongside even just like 2 or 3 debuffers, you know, sort of CC champions, because he's doing all the work himself. He's effectively putting the hexes on and doing the damage. So if the hex is almost like the decreased defense, and then the AoE's the damage. So you could potentially run like a speed lead into 2 CC champions, something like a because you're increasing accuracy, you could probably even do like a Astralon, just try and stun them all. Astralon into, or someone like Gurgo if you have him. Gurgo's really good. Gurgo would actually be incredible with this guy, because then you're just going to strip and freeze them, then come back round. And then he's going to get Opportunist too from dealing this much damage, and it's going to slow them down too, which means you should get another turn. So actually Gurgo would be insane. And obviously Ruthless Ambush, usual nuker masteries. And rather than going down the defense tree, which I do with a lot of my nukers, you want that accuracy, so you're running them in support. So I'm getting a little bit more accuracy, obviously through, not this one here, but through these two. So obviously my accuracy is probably going to be running at about 500 actually with that. Lore of Steel for more stuff. And then this is kind of the only thing I decided to put a sniper on him, but the more I'm thinking about it, I should probably have just put Master Hexer on him, because Master Hexer will actually extend the hex debuff. So have I got the free reset on here? Yes, I have. So I'm going to change that. I'll actually change that to Master Hexer, because yeah, getting that extra turn on the hex debuff is pretty cool, because he doesn't actually take the hex debuff off, unlike Thea. So if you're running with Thea, you might as well just run this, you know, sniper, just to get that little bit extra on the A1. But if you're not running them with Thea, this is probably the optimal route. Yeah, because the longer that stays on, the more they can't heal, they're slower, their res is down, all that kind of cool stuff. So let's just chuck them into Arena and see how we can do with them. Right, so this is the team I'm starting off with. I'm just running Kriskin here. He's actually really good in this because he gets the increased accuracy from here. The sleep goes on from Kymar, sleeps them all, but then when they wake up, I can usually just provoke them with Krisk, so that lets me get back round to deal damage with him, and I can actually get decreased defense from the provokes here as well. So this is a pretty solid team, and it gives you good survivability from his shields, and obviously his passive's great for protecting these two. So I think this is a pretty solid team to use him with. I've ran this off auto, so we're faster than them luckily. Then we can strip them all. Trunda resisted, that's fine. Now let's put the hexes on. There we go, hexes are on. Provoke. So Provoke is going to work for Trunda because we didn't actually sleep her, and it's going to work for Arbiter because she's faster, but it's not going to work for these two, but that's fine. Because he's at this level of turn meter already, he's going to get in to kill these two beforehand, and there's 4 hexes up, so that's fine. At this point, I'm just going to try and decrease the turn meter of Trunda. Yep, that's fine, and then I could actually just boost round with Kymar, and now we're back to this point. They've not actually taken a turn yet, and we're able to use the A2 to do that much damage. That's a hell of a lot of damage. Yeah, that is a lot. Granted, these guys are more offense based, so we'll try and find some more tanky teams. Let's scroll. Here's one right here. So we've got like a Brogni, who's pretty tanky. Candrafon's a bit of a nightmare. This won't go as well because Kymar misses the sleep a lot of the time here. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put in Cythalia, who's a fairly new champion I got. So she should be able to strip any buffs they have, decrease their turn meter, and hopefully I'm fast enough to get round from this turn meter boost and do what I need to do. Especially with Kymar lead, he's going to use his sleep because everyone's able to set the auto now. So it'll be interesting to see if I can actually do this if I'm fast enough. So let's have a go. The more buffs they have on just now, the better. So they've only got 4, so if they had 5, I could have actually got a bigger turn meter increase here from Cythalia, which is unfortunate. Increase turn meter, let's decrease a little bit. Yep, that's fine, we managed to get that on. Hex and then provoke. That worked out great. And then what we'll do is we shall decrease the turn meter of it doesn't actually really matter because, well, it does actually, because MUCHHHH isn't provoked. I just realised that, so that's lucky I noticed that one. And then do this heal thing, doesn't really matter. And we're at this point again, so we're able to deal 4 hexes. We've got a ton of damage coming on. Okay, we got weak hits on the Brogni. So that's unfortunate, but weak hits are weak hits, but blew everyone else up pretty good. Brogni's obviously magic affinity, so magic affinity is not huge on defense, to be honest, so it's not really going to be too much of a problem most of the time. Trunda obviously is magic affinity. Brogni, Kymar is probably a slight issue because he's going to be used in defense a lot more now that the AI changes come out. But the good thing about using a spirit-based attacker is because a lot of people use force champions in defense just because of Trunda, because she is the best nuker. So it's a pretty good counter to that, all these force-heavy defenses. I know myself, I use a force-heavy defense and it does work. But let's scroll down. I don't think we've got anything too tough here. Let's have a search. I'm looking for a sort of our Saga team. Here we go. So our Saga is a bit of a beast just now. 301k power, so it's fairly high resistance. Let's have a go at this one, but we'll stick Kymar back in. I believe that's the best play. Now shield, sleep them all. That worked fine. Now they've all woken up, so that's fine. So I can put provoke on them, and it's not going to miss the provoke because of the increased accuracy. Let's just lower the turn meter a little bit of arbiter. Don't want to wake Trund up, so we'll just do that. So here we go, we've got our Saga protecting everyone. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 hexes on, everything's going fine. Boom, blows them up. Easy, easy. I mean, the first hit just about killed them all. So you can see how much damage this champion can actually do. And this is just running Ruel on his own, remember. So this is with no Savage gear or anything like that. So if you were to build like a full Savage Ruel with another Ruel, I think he would do so much damage, it would be crazy. In fact, here's another one with a Siphi lead, so resistance lead. Here, this is a really tanky team actually. This is a good one to show you on. So tons of I'd imagine because it's not crazy high power, that means it's much more defense orientated too. So really high HP, really high defense sort of team here. Force affinity nuker as well, so this is based to try and beat Trunda teams. Right, so let's have a go at this one. So we shall take away the buffs, and let's hope we land all these. Oh, we landed everything, that's good. So let's get the provokes on. Provokes are running at like 800 accuracy, so they shouldn't miss. We'll decrease turn meter off. In fact, we potentially don't really want to decrease turn meter because we want them to hit Krisk before Ruel takes a turn anyway, because if they do have reaction accessories, we want rid of them. So I might just actually just use this ability because no one's sleeping anyway. There we go. So if Duchess did have reaction on her, then that's been burned. That's fine, I just stuck that on that. Right, let's have a go at this one. Let's hope we can kill them. Oh, I mean, that was a ton of damage. Without Savage, that is pretty damn good, but wasn't quite enough to kill the team. So, yeah, you can see that's where the problem comes in from using Ruel on his own. I'm just going to hit auto now and see what happens, but that's about as tanky as a team you get, because you've got Duchess giving the AoE resistance sort of thing. You've got our Saga, sorry, who's probably in a Guardian set with the looks of it, who's nuts in that set. Then you've also got Candraphon, who takes a ton less damage because he's under Veil all the time. Then obviously Siphi speaks for herself. She heals everyone, puts increased defense up, so pretty solid defense this to try and get through with a champion that's only running 5k attack with not a ton of crit damage. But as you can see, it's doing work here. This is a pretty solid team actually. So we get 1 minute 40, but I was blabbing obviously, so it wouldn't be as long as that normally. But that's where he might be a fairly decent defensive nuker. He might catch people out because with the Perfect Veil, he's taking less damage too. So a team like that might do pretty well in defense, I think, especially if you have a really fast Arbiter. You can catch quite a few people out, and then Krisk is going to protect you from these damage hegemons and things like that on offense too. So here's another one. We've got City, and we've got... In fact, what I think we'll do is I think we've kind of shown you the damage that he can do. So in that build, he's got more than enough damage to kill all your standard teams. It's really only when you go into the likes of Duchess or Saga together things where you're going to struggle to kill people. So what I might do is I might just show you what it's like with Thea, because I think this is a pretty promising combination with Thea. So with Thea, I'll definitely run Kymar and then Thea in here. Now, in an ideal world, I would switch out all his gear right now and make him fast with high accuracy with a little bit of damage still, because you don't really need the 2 damage dealers here. Now these are void affinity, so I should just blow them up in a winner, should be no issue. But yeah, let's go ahead and see how much damage she will do, because this is a defensive base nuker and soulless too. So they will be pretty tanky, I would imagine. Let's sleep them all. They wake up. There we got all the hexes on. Let's just do this to make sure Thea takes a turn. I'm running Thea pretty slow for a reason, because I want her to hit after reaction, so she's actually in attack boots. Let's put her in a perfect veil for good measure and blow everyone up for... Was that 200 odd K damage on... Wow, that's a lot of damage. So yeah, this is definitely one way to do it. Let's have another go like this. Obviously Rotos isn't going to die there because single hit, so actually I might just... Yeah, that's the only thing about using Thea. She's a bit iffy because it's a single hit and she's also force affinity, so any Duchess teams is a no-go. But let's have a look for something else. Obviously it's going to deal a ton of damage against sort of these teams. I don't really need to show you that. In fact, what I'll do is I'll work up into Platinum. That's what we'll do, and we'll try Thea against some of the top teams in Platinum and then see how that goes. Right, so we've worked our way up into Platinum. Just now we're at rank 51, so fairly high up. Don't need to go too much higher. And let's try out this team against... Let's look. It's quite difficult because obviously with them using Thea, I can't really go against Duchess teams, so this is Thea's problem. Obviously Ruel would be much better in this spot if you had the 2 of them. I don't think Ruel on his own, just the way I've got him built, because he's having to put the debuff on and do the damage, he's just not going to be able to beat these top teams built like that. But 100%, if you had 2 versions of Ruel, and you had 1 in accuracy, 1 in damage, you could deal a ton of damage to all these teams. But I'm interested to see... Okay, here's an Ursaga team. This is a sort of... Oh no, it's got Duchess in it. Let's have a look for... Is there going to be an Ursaga team without Duchess in it? It is very unlikely, to be honest. Extremely unlikely. Most people seem to be keeping their Ursaga teams back, so let's I mean, that's pretty tanky. They've got force affinity here though. They've got spirit affinity here. Let's go with this top one here. So that's a pretty tanky team, and there's no actual greens in there at all, so let's go for this. Right, so against this team here, we do have a force affinity Candraphon, but I'm just going to take the chance and go with the sleep, because we've got a cleanser here that's going to make life a bit of a nightmare. And get rid of those hexes. So let's hopefully we land the sleep. Yeah, it would have been quite good with Cythalia here because they've got a lot of buffs up. I think I should be able to... There we go, we slept everyone, so that's worked out fine. High resist on the Raglan, which is a bit of a pain. Let's just boost around. Now, all the reactions will have been spent except for Candraphon. Let's see how much damage we can do. Oh, I didn't actually read that, but that looked like a lot of damage there. Obviously, Candraphon, stupidly, his AI, this guy's not set his AI up properly there, because he should have always favoured the A1 as the second choice, because then he would have actually killed my Arbiter there. So, yeah, now that the AI patch is out, you should be setting all of those things to the way they should be. But we won that one, luckily. Let's have another look for something without Duchess in it. At this level of Platinum is not really doable. I'm just looking for like an Ursaga team without Duchess. Look at this, we've got what we need. Thank you, Micro Nero, whatever your name is. So we can just run this team here, I believe. Hopefully we're faster. If he's faster than us, then I'm screwed. But speed race. Let's see if we're faster. Are we faster? No, we're not faster. Okay, he is faster because of Siffy. Siffy's obviously got better base speed, so let's see, have we got anything that we can actually put in here? That's unfortunate. I really wanted to try out the damage there. How could we do this? I could potentially run... Yeah, let's do this. Kymar lead, and let's go with the... This might well work here. Okay, that's worked fine. Arbiter, or should I have done Warlord? Yep, okay, that was a mistake. Well, let's try this one more time. Kymar is pretty fast, so he should be able to take a turn. You live and learn, don't you? Right, take away the Warlord is the more sensible option. There we go. Done what we needed to do. Hexes all go up. And he has got Strengthen up as well. And Ally Protect, so this is quite interesting actually. Decrease turn meter there. Let's just boost around to make sure we actually hit something. So this is like, yeah, Strengthen up and Ally Protect plus that passive. That's a hell of a lot of damage mitigation. So if this does kill them, it's pretty nuts. Oh, destroys them. I'm not totally sure what happened on the Arbiter there. He's not a weak hit or anything, but that's fine. So let's see. I'm probably best just hitting the A1, I'm thinking, maybe? Yeah, I was able to do that, unfortunately. That was a ton of damage, though, wasn't it? Let's decrease turn meter a little bit there. Okay, let's auto. I'm not totally sure what happened with the Arbiter there, but that was a ton of damage. That was quite cool to see. Interesting to see. I might actually, rather than try and win this one, this guy's going to be like, Iamsteamin giving me all these points. But I'm actually want to try that again and see if that works. Using all of my gems up, guys. Right. Let's decrease turn meter here. Strip them all. That worked fine. X is all up. Strengthens up. Decrease turn meter there a little bit. I think Thea's probably going to take a go, but just to be safe, let's increase the turn meter and boom. Okay, so she's not dealing a lot of damage to the Arbiter, but that's fine. We killed them all, so let's this time put hexes up, maybe make them a bit slower, try and stop this Warlord doing his thing. Okay, was increased cooldown there, that's a bit unfortunate. Right, okay guys, I don't think we're going to win this fight, so this guy's got enough points off me already, so let's just leave this fight. We're back in Gold 4. So what do I think of Ruel? I know that was kind of more of a Thea guide there again. Ruel is actually really good. I really think he's pretty damn good. I think he can be used in top level arena if you have two of them. If you have one of them, to be honest, increase accuracy is always good. You know, you could potentially just run him with like, you know, you could build Astralon as your nuker and then build him with like sort of 100, 200 accuracy, and then he's going to be hitting with like 300 accuracy. So he'll always stun the kind of lower resistance champions that you're fighting, which is actually really strong. And then if there's any swift parry, Ruel can come in at the end and just wipe out people because he's not actually used as good AoE yet. You know, so run him at like relatively high speed, good accuracy with a little bit of damage still. That's an option to build. So there's a lot of different ways to build him, which is quite interesting. This is the best way, I think, if you want him to do it all. But he's only going to do it all against certain teams. He's going to fall short against the big damage teams. Thea now has the potential to do like the most damage in the game. Now keep in mind when we were fighting those teams there, why am I clicking on Rector Draft? That's not Thea. Where is Thea? Thea is... And that wasn't Thea in great gear. This isn't like a lot of blue gear, just kind of random gear that I had. 6k attack, very low speed to try and get around the reaction sort of meta. But yeah, you could build her really strong, you know, with attack boots. There's people that could build her with like 7k attack with like 300 crit damage and savage. I could potentially do that if I stripped Ethos, but I do not want to do that. But she's Force Affinity, and she removes all the hexes, and she only hits once. Whereas Ruel hits twice, he doesn't remove the hexes, he just seems infinitely better to me, plus he's Spirit Affinity, which in the current meta is actually really good, because you're going to be smacking all those Force Affinity defenses that people have out there. But Force Affinity is like the worst attackers right now. For offense anyway. For defense, pretty decent. I don't think, yeah, she'd be a bit funny for defense as well. Potentially, you could maybe run her on a defense team, but it's like overkill. You don't need that much damage. She's actually pretty cool for like Doom Tower waves. If you don't have a seer, I've been using her for like Fire Knight 25, all the kind of waves, and she smashes through the waves no problem. So it's like another kind of seer team. You just run her with Ruel and a Kaimar, just reset and rinse and repeat, and it does work the same. It's not quite as strong as seer, but it's just about there. Just a shame because she's one of the coolest looking champions in the game. But she is definitely a lot better with Ruel come out. I don't want to say because, you know, effectively she's the hardest hitting champion in the game. And keep in mind, all of this, like I said, was without defense down. This is all just with the hex up. So if you were to get in defense down as well, you know, the damage will be, you'll be looking at 300k plus damage to these big tanky champions, which is pretty nuts. But Ruel, yeah, I'm pretty impressed with Ruel. I think he's pretty damn good. Definitely usable. Not like top tier, but he's technically, I think, the second hardest hitting champion in the game with this ability and everything ticked off. So just a lot of setup. Whereas Trunda's still number one by a long shot because there's no setup involved. She does it all by herself. She has great other abilities. You know, she's got two abilities that smack super hard. She's got crazy high HP. She's just overpowered, definitely overpowered. So I would rather see her brought down a little bit, or at least give us a few more nukers that are just close to her level. Because at the moment, it's her and Ethos for me are the kind of main two. Ethos can smack super hard, but he just doesn't have the utility she has. But he has got Force Void Affinity, which is really good. Candrafon's a good defensive nuker, but for offense, he's just lacking a little bit. So that is the guide, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please, if you haven't already, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. It really helps the channel out. And stay tuned for the next video. Have a great day, guys. Peace.